Resto Mod 101.
Hey, welcome back to Resto Mod 101. Today we're working with Corvette Central, and what they sent us is this. A power window conversion kit for a C2 Corvette. This thing's fantastic. It comes with the power window regulators. They're nicely labeled. It tells you right here this is going in the right side of the car, and this is for the left side of the car. It comes with your wiring harness. Looks pretty simple, and it even has the door wire looms. Really, really nice hardware here. Nice chrome switch, looks just like the original. This thing's great, and actually doesn't look too difficult to put in. Let's go find out. Today we're over here at the fiberglass body with Greg. So, Greg, what's the game plan?
We're going to be doing a little bit of cutting, wiring, modifying, and we'll get some power windows in this car. Tools you need is a Phillips screwdriver and this tool, which is a clip remover. This is the tool you're going to be using for removing the crank window and also the lock mechanism. You're going to just slide it in. It looks identical to this. You're going to slide it in from behind. You can see right where you're going to give it a little twist, and then it'll pop the clip off, removes it right away. Real simple. You have about 13 screws, Phillips screws, holding the door panel on. You have 2 Phillips screws holding on the armrest. You have a twist knob for your door pull, unscrew that. Once you have it all removed, you have a line across the top here that's clipped onto. Gently put your knee underneath there, give it a little wiggle to get it loose. It'll watch this part right here where the door opening is, and also you're going to clear where your window crank is. Once you get that clear, pop it up. Grab it on the front side and back side, remove it like that. Then we're going to go ahead and take the rest of it apart. Okay, when removing the large window, you're going to be removing this small bracket that is located on the inside of the door. I've already removed it. 2 Phillips screws hold it in. You slide it off the track, the rail. It'll slide forward and up. It comes off real easy. The last part, you're going to have 2 nuts holding the rail going across this window. 2 7/16 nuts. I've already loosened them. I'm going to take it off. Slide the window out of the track. Slide the window up carefully, tipping it in. And just like that. The next thing you're going to do is slide the channel off the roller and bring it out. The wind wing has 4 bolts, screws holding the top side. We've already removed those. Phillips screwdriver. We've got 3 bolts holding the bracket for the transmission, holding the wind wing. There's 1, 2, 1 on the bottom through this hole is 3. When you remove those, you take off the bracket. There's a 7/16 bolt holding the transmission, which is actuator for the wind wing. Remove the 7/16 bolt. Take the transmission, slide it down off the shaft, and pull it away. You have a screw down below that's going to be the pitch for the wind wing. You unscrew that with a screwdriver, take that out, and slide back the wind wing on an angle. Slowly pull it up, making sure you don't scratch any paint. As you pull it out, you have to give it a little twist. You have a little bracket right here, which is going to be the adjustment, the pitch. And that's it. Mounts in, motor down. 4 bolts we're going to be installing are right here, all clearly indicated. Slides in nice and easy once you have the door totally gutted. Remount this window regulator. Just kind of find your holes. Like I said, you're mounting these in the forward holes from the previous regulator, and that's it. Let's go to the next step. Okay, now we're going to be drilling the holes for the wiring to come through the front of the door jamb. In the instructions it says measure 2.5 inches up. The opening is going to be, according to the instructions, 1 3/8 wide. It's a pretty large opening. So that's where I started off. I already marked off my 2.5 inches. I'm going to drill with the drill bit just above that and just follow with the Dremel tool. You have metal on the inside. I'm just going to use that as my template. After you've cut the hole, well, I take some 80 grit sandpaper, do some final sanding around there. If you have any unevenness to it, flatten it out. This turned out real well. Once you get your hole cut, you're going to be installing your tube, which is your wiring is going to be running through. There is a left and right hand side. The driver's side, the left side, is actually going to be angled down on an angle like that. Don't be mounting it like this. Mount it on an angle. So this tube is going to be horizontal. As you attach it to the door, I went by the measurements on the instructions. Use them as a reference, not as an identical measure. Go ahead and mark it with a marker. And what I did, I opened and closed it, checked for clearance. I was just a little bit off according to the measurements, but doors are different. I mean, doors have been possibly pre-hit or shimmed out a little bit more on the bottom. It's going to throw things off a little bit. So the best thing to do is hold it flush against the door on the inside here. Make sure you're in the center of the opening here. And check for clearance, open and close. If you open that door all the way and you feel it catching anywhere, adjust it so you don't have any more interference. All right, let's go to the next side. I'm pre-fitting the tube that the wire is going to be running to. As I did that, I found out that it's interfering on the inside of the slotted hole. There's a factory inside bracket. It's painted green. We're going to have to be doing a little bit of grinding away. It's hitting the tip of this tube as the door opens and closes. It's probably about an inch tall and maybe 1/8 of an inch in that I'm going to be taking out. Double check my fit. Holding it flush against the door. The door is going to be open all the way. Coming just below the rivet. Give the rock test. Check for clearance. Yep. All right. After you find your spot, your sweet spot where it's going to be clear everywhere, mark your holes, your mounting holes, and you're going to be drilling a center hole where the wire is going to be actually coming through. What I would do is mark that by eye. Like I said, it's going to be pretty close to your measurement. Nothing's exact on every car. Always have to do a little modification, just make sure things look good. You can always follow the instructions the way everything's read out, but not every car is the same. So just go according to your car, make it fit right, make it work well. Let's go ahead, next step. We're going to sit here and open it up. We got left to right side here. You can know the driver's side because you're going to have a red and black wire, which is going to be going to the relay. The relay is going to be mounting up here on the left side of the firewall, but that side is going to be the driver's side. So this plug, the blue and the gray wire and black wire are going to be the driver's side. We're going to be feeding these through. Red and black are going to stay right in this area, and the rest is going to run across the car. All right, now that we've fed the wiring harness through the first 2 holes here, we're going to be feeding it through the tube, which is going to be mounted to the door, which means we're going to have to remove this plug. Real simple process. Small flat blade screwdriver is what I use. Just remember which wire is on top and which is on the bottom. You're going to be inserting the flat blade screwdriver on the small side of the plug, not the opening, not the large opening, the small narrow one. Simply slide it in there, give it a little tight squeeze in, pry down, and that wire slides right out. There's a little tab on the bottom of this tab. You're going to have to pry back up just a little bit. That's the keeper lever. You've already pushed it down to get it out. You want to pry that up now. And same thing, again, remembering which wire goes where. Same thing on the second wire. Go in the small opening, give it a push down, it slides right out. Again, bringing up that little tab just a little bit. Just remember, on the left side, blue's on top and gray's on the bottom. Next thing, the process is going to be feeding it through this tube. You don't want to be feeding it backwards. So you're going to be coming in from the opening here, and that's going to be feeding it into the door towards your regulator. So you're going to stagger these wires because they're going to be grouped too close. So I'm going to go back with one, take a little electrical tape, tape it down to the wiring harness itself. The second wire, I'm going to tape that down to the ground wire. But I got a tricky little way of doing it. I get a long piece of wire, an extra piece of wire. I'll fold it in half, make sure it's long enough. Feed the wire through the loop of the ground first. Get those 2 ends together. to feed it through the tube. Again, we're going to be going through the small side to the large side. Comes up just like that. Grab it with some needle nose. Pull it through. Okay, now we're going to make sure we have a nice straight shot at everything. Nothing's going to be in a bind. Kind of a tight squeeze here. You don't want to ruin your ends. Just pull it gently. Help feed it through. Keep pulling a little slack through. Keep feeding it through. We got it. Undo your wires. Because you're going to be going probably right below where this motor is going to be mounting right here. So you're going to probably need about 15 inches of slack. It's better to have a little bit extra because there is a little bit of harness on the motor itself. Okay, now that we've fed it through the tube, we've got our plug again. Remember, the blue was on the top side, gray was on the bottom. Make sure your tabs are spread up still a little bit after being all that pulling coming through the tube there. Just come up a little bit. Blue's on top, the tab is going to be on the top side. Slide down there, you'll feel a click. Always double check it, give it a pull once you feel that click. Same thing on the bottom. Click. That's solid, good. Now we're going to feed it through the door. The plug is going to go through first, and then the ground wire. Once you feed it through, you got a pre-existing hole on the inside of the door, a large one, with the hole that you've drilled 3/4 inch. It's just about directly behind here. So it goes in and makes a quick right turn, goes inside the door. You're going to feed your harness through there. You can reach through the door with your other arm to grab it. Okay, now that we've run the wires through there and drilled our holes, we're going to mount this bracket to the door. We provided little self-tapper screws, like a 5/16 head. They also come with a little clip, this little flat spring-loaded clip provided in your kit. That goes on the inside. Tighten it by hand as much as you can on the inside, and give it a twist on the outside. Before you get it totally tight, you want to be able to maneuver your bracket. So put it on your second screw. You're going to double check, make sure it's not hitting on the inside. Hold the tube, bounce the door a little bit. Feel if you feel any tugging on that tube. If not, you have plenty of clearance, you're good. One part of the harness, which is your switch control, it's going to be coming right down the center of the car here. It's going to be going underneath this plate. So remove all the Phillips screws, lift it up. Any money you find, just send to me. I'll give you my address later. Winner, winner. The rest of it, which is your green and yellow wire, and your ground wire is going to continue going underneath this bar, this support bar. I'm going to be zip tying it along this last rail here. We're going to be coming into the hole and run it into the door. All right, a couple feet from the end of the wire that's going to be plugging into the right-hand motor, power window motor, they give you a ground wire. That's going to be, we're going to be drilling a hole into this cross support. I'm going to zip tie the extra wire up like this. I'm going to drill a hole straight from the bottom, rough up the metal a little bit, give it some bare metal contact, give a self-tapper screw, and ground it right here to this crossbar. And I'm going to continue everything else going inside the door. Now that we've ran the wires inside the door, we're going to be plugging it in and grounding it. Well, in your instructions, it doesn't say where to ground it. So what I do is I'm going to take out the top screw of the holding the regulator. I'm going to be installing a long screw, running it all the way through. It should protrude probably about 6 threads. I'm going to put the ground wire on there, and then put a nut on there, and that'll be our ground. We're taking out the short one, installing a new one with the washer. Going to get that nice and tight. Now we're going to go on the inside. We're going to putting the ground wire on this longer bolt I've installed on the top of the regulator. Slip it right on top there. Put your nut on. I've already got a little bit of Loctite on the threads on the nut. There's our ground, nice and easy. Plug. It's going to be a one-handed Houdini move. It'd be great. This is great if you have 2 hands, but unfortunately you can't reach 2 hands in there. So just basically spend a little time, be patient. Good. We're in. After you got it plugged in, shove everything to the forward side of the motor because you want clearance for that window to be going up and down. Feed any excess wire back through that tube, push all your wiring down and out of the way. Your power block here, one wire goes to the power supply, which is going to be your fuse block. Second wire is going to be hooking on top, which goes to the wiring harness. Drill two 1/8 hole right next to where you have an identical box that looks like it, which happens to be for the headlights. It's a power supply for your headlight relay. Tighten up. The red wire coming out of your harness from your power window conversion kit is going to be going to the top. 3/8 nut on there. Make sure you have good clearance. You don't want to be touching any other metal with that. Tighten up both nuts. This red wire that's attached already is going to be going to the fuse block. The lower right corner right there, it's already marked. Check your connections, wiggle them, make sure everything's good and tight. Ground wire, we're going to be going up to the screw that is actually holding the interior light bulb on this particular car. You can just drill a hole if you have easy access to wherever. Drill a hole, maybe rough up an area, put a self-tapper screw in there. That'll be the same. It'll be fine. We're going to be dropping it in place. Pull back the little armrest so it sits flush. Make sure everything sits nice and tight right against the console and the dash. I'm going to take a pen, do a trace around this opening. This tray is going to be sitting inside there. This piece, that's going to be the opening for the switches. Just going to find the center of it with the box, center of it where I drew my line, and extend that line out so I can actually see it. Just for a personal visual reference, I marked the center of the box. The center of the box that I drew brought it out. I set this right on top. Line up the two and trace around it. You'll have two boxes drawn on the fiberglass. You want to make sure they're centered. I'm going to go ahead and cut the larger hole out. Make sure that will allow this to drop inside. And then let's go ahead and cut that hole. So I got a wheel cutter here. Again, we're going to be cutting the outside. Nice thing, what you're going to do is just move the carpet aside, make sure it sits flush. Get a little bit of interference by the metal front bracket on the armrest pad. I'm going to go ahead and grind that away, or you can bend it away. I prefer cutting it away. 1/16 of an inch. Let's flip this one more time. Very nice. What I'm going to do, drill two holes and hold down the tray. Yep. That's really good. Put a small bead of silicone around the tray, just around the edge of the tray here. All the way around. Just keep the water tight. Drop it back in. Moving the carpet to the side. Now that I've got the tray in there and silicone around it, I'm going to put the two screws in there. So what I did when I cut the hole for the tray, I drilled two 1/8 holes on either side. I want something short, shallow, but with something with a washer that's going to hold it down well. Flat washer. Okay, now that I've siliconed and installed this tray, put another bead of silicone around it with my finger. Making sure it's sealed real well. All right. So what I've done already is installed the switch inside of our plate. You want to make sure your wires here, you're going to lay really flat against your switch. Make sure that switch is pushed on all the way, because it takes up every bit of space in this tray. You'll have some studs sticking out from the switch. Make sure they're flush all the way down. The mounting kit does not come with any clips on the switch. What I ended up doing was using some plastic inserts. Usually you'll find those like around license plate frame holders. Take the rails, we're going to grease them up. Little black grease is what I like to use rather than the white lithium grease, because as time goes by the white lithium grease kind of dries up. Just put a nice thin coat over everything. A little bit on the new bearings and rollers. You slide the front side in first, which will usually come in on the 45-degree angle. It's kind of tough to get through the rollers sometimes. Takes a little bit of muscle. Once you pop it through there, it'll free down. You bring it back, catch the rear ball bearing on the back. Bring back side slit on there, make sure it travels freely. All right, take your glass. This is kind of the difficult part. Just gotta be careful. Pretty much going on an angle. So I'm going to try to get the rear and the front to go in these channels. Usually does better when you drop the window down and then bring it back up. Concentrate on the rear channel, get that in there. And that's where it is. Now you notice the front is still out. We're going to drop it down to here. Then we're going to push the front of the glass into the front channel and then slide it up. Okay, next we're going to be installing the rear rail on the window glass. The window is staying up for us right now. We're going to bring this in through the opening here. There's a curved, kind of a banana-shaped channel on the bottom of the window. You're going to come in on an angle, it's going to catch like this and then slip it up. And then we're going to bolt it up. I'm just showing you because it's going to be kind of tough to see on the inside of the door. The channel has felt on it. There's no need to put grease on this. You want the felts to be on both sides of that rail though, so it doesn't bundle. There we go. The rail is now installed. We have two screws that are going to be going in. They line up perfect with the top, and the bottom lines up very well too. It doesn't always go in this easy. I got pretty lucky on this one. And next we're going to be installing the small rail. Just going to go right here. Take out the screws, put a little bit of grease on them. There's a little wheel right in between these two openings of the screw where this goes in. You're going to come in on an angle, open side facing away. You're going to pop it over the roller and then pivot it and bring it up to these two holes right here. You're going to go halfway down, pivot it, and slide it right up to these openings. Nut and bolts. Open this rail in. And this is your adjustments, which is going to do the pivoting on the window left to right. So as you run your window up and down, if it's in a bind or anything, loosen these up, run the window up, tighten them up, snug, run the window down. If it's as smooth as you can get it, then tighten them up. If it's got a little hard spot to it, loosen them up, maybe halfway down, readjust. Maybe just move the bolts up and down. You can see how they go up and down. So a little bit of movement here is going to change just enough up here to make everything smooth. If you have new rails, it's a good idea to, or old rails, I mean, it's a good idea to take Scotch-Brite and some thinner and scrub them really good. Clean with a rag, use some black grease, tighten them up a little bit. Maybe just find them right in the middle of the hole. Tighten that up for a good start reference point. Alright, now we're going to bring the window down. We're bringing the window down, which has a stud sticking out of the back, which is where we're going to put the stud right through this hole here. And the rail, front side and back side. Bring the window up so it's lined up right here and do it with a little extension. Okay. Now we've provided power. The window switch is right here. Double switch left and right side. Making sure that it works fine. You're going to grab the top of the window, bring it up, small little bounces so we can get access through these holes here. Bring the glass up to come through that rail that we installed. Take your nut. A little trick to hold the nut in place. Take a little bit of tape in your socket. Overlap the top of the socket a little bit. Go around it. Roll the tape to the inside of that socket. That will prevent the nut from dropping down inside the socket. Stays right there on the end. Looks real good. Yeah, not a problem. Just get it snug. Okay, now that we've got the window installed, we've got everything snug, we're going to be making sure we can get this window to go up and down as freely as possible. With the new felts in the front and the back, and everything greased up, it shouldn't be a hard adjustment. I'm leaving these 2 bolts here loose. About half a turn, 1 full turn. And bump the window down halfway. Just to show you, you can change the pitch. That's all the way forward, it's all the way back. Just going to give it a little tap so it's kind of in the middle. So it gets in the bind, so we'll drop back down. Come all the way back and then tighten this up. Now those nuts spinning on the inside. We're going to have to bring it up a little bit. Now tighten it up. We'll get a socket inside. 7/16 size socket. It goes nice and tight. Let's try this out again. We're going to bring it down slowly. Looking for any binding. Seems really good. It's real nice. Okay, we're going to run it all the way up and all the way back down. Yeah, real nice. Okay. Run it halfway down. We're going to go ahead and tighten everything up. Bring it back up so we have access to the nuts in here. Again, 7/16. And like I said, everything self-adjusts. That's why I try to leave everything a little bit loose. And while we're in here, go ahead and check all the nuts that everything's fitting. Make sure you check the ones on the back side of the door also. I always like to double check just before we button up. Final check. And all the way down. Because you don't want to be putting the door panel on and have issues with it. So that looks really good. Everything's tight. Double checked. Tight, tight. Tight back. I think just before this, I'm going to grease everything up a little bit more. A little dab in front and side. Take a little hand. Put this on the rail, right at the wheel. Just one blob about the size of a quarter. Push it in there a little bit. Alright. Looking good. Alright. Let's move on. Okay. I'm going to make sure this wiring is going underneath the bottom of this tray, but make sure the ashtray is installed first, otherwise you're not going to be able to get it through this door opening. Make sure your wiring is going to be clear of any screws dropping down to hold it in. Move the armrest back. Make sure it sits down flush all the way. I'll use a small hole finder. Use your old screws. Put them right back in there. Also, one more thing I want to bring to your attention is when you're screwing these in, if you're pressing down, don't split that screwdriver slip. You're going to put a nice big mark in your new plate. So just be really careful, take your time, don't be in a rush. And you keep your fingers tight around the head and the screwdriver tip. This is a little safety precaution. We're going to have more screws up here to install. We'll be doing that later on this car, but that's how to get this plate installed with your switches. Go ahead. Also, as soon as you do install this, always double check your work. You don't want to be having a broken wire and come across something that's going to be making you take everything back apart. So for every step, double check your work, whatever you're doing. I'm happy with that.
Resto Mod 101.